Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome to a deep dive that's taking us on a really unique journey across Japan today. You've given us this fantastic stack of sources, really detailed notes on four, well, very distinct regions: Gunma, Osaka, Yamagata, and Yamanashi. But what makes this stack, I think, particularly exciting is that alongside all the history, the culture, food, tradition for each place, you've also included these creative concepts for songs inspired by these very regions.
Exactly, and that's the real payoff here, isn't it? We get to see the kind of raw material of a region's identity, its history, its people, its landscape, and then we get to examine how that material is, distilled, interpreted, and then expressed through the lens of music.
It's like a shortcut, yeah, a shortcut to understanding the very soul of a place. So our mission today is to guide you through these sources, pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge about what makes each of these four regions tick, and then see how that distinctive character really comes to life in the proposed musical concepts. Okay, let's jump in. Right, so we start with Gunma. Your sources immediately grab our attention with the locals' humorous embrace of being the Gunma Empire. It's got this reputation, right, for being a bit remote, maybe a bit rugged, off the beaten path. But the sources quickly show that this rugged image is built on, well, really deep cultural and historical roots.
That's right. The material really emphasizes the region's significant onsen culture, with famous spots like Kusatsu and Ikaho, and it highlights a strong heritage stretching way back to the samurai era, and then the later importance of silk production. This evolved into modern industry, but the core identity, as it's presented here, is one of self-reliance, resilience, and a very practical, sort of close connection to the land.
And that idea of resilience, it feels perfectly symbolized by the Daruma dolls originating in Takasaki. The sources mention Takasaki is the home of the Daruma, and that classic proverb, fall 7 times, stand up 8. How does that Daruma spirit tie into this regional identity?
It seems pretty fundamental. Historically, Gunma was part of the ancient Kusuke province with those strong samurai ties. Then, in the Meiji era, that period of rapid modernization in the late 19th century, it became a global leader in sericulture, silk farming and production. The Tomioka Silk Mill, it's a UNESCO site actually, stands as a monument to that pivotal role in Japan's industrialization. The sources even note the region saw fighting during the Boshin War, the civil conflict that led to the end of samurai rule under the Tokugawa shogunate, before it shifted focus to manufacturing and transportation. So you see that history of resilience, of adaptation woven throughout.
Makes sense. So what traditions spring from this history and this connection to the land?
Well, there's the massive Daruma Ichi festival in Takasaki,
Right.
where people buy their Daruma dolls to set goals for the year.
Yeah.
There's the famous Kusatsu Onsen Yumomi, where they stir the incredibly hot spring water rhythmically,
Yeah.
often with traditional folk songs.
Yeah.
So that connects the onsen culture directly to local music and tradition. You also see things like fire rituals and horseback archery at events like Ogomatsuri, plus, the many harvest and mountain festivals celebrating that close relationship with nature.
And that relationship is definitely visible in the food sources too. Mizusawa, udon, yakimanju, okirakomi. And critically, konnyaku, your notes say over 90% of Japan's konnyaku production comes from Gunma.
Exactly.
Plus hardy local vegetables and mountain fruits.
It's a cuisine born of the landscape, really, and the need for sustenance in a rugged environment. The local language, Gunmaben, is described as a soft rural dialect, shares some influence with Tohoku dialects further north. Phrases like sodabi for that's right, or nansuka, meaning what is it, they give you a feel for that down-to-earth communication style. And the pride is palpable, whether in slogans like land of mountains, hot springs, and warm hearts, or that self-deprecating humor of the Gunma Empire.
Right. It paints a picture of people who are maybe quiet, hardworking, no nonsense on the surface, but warm and deeply rooted underneath. And you see that ruggedness filter into pop culture too, yeah? Like the famous racing manga and anime Initial D being set there, using Mount Akina, which is actually Mount Haruna.
Definitely. The sources highlight the spiritual significance of mountains like Akagi, Haruna, and Miyogi, and the rich natural environment forests, hot springs, unique alpine flowers. Key locations mentioned include Maebashi, the capital, known for arts, Takasaki, the Daruma Hub, Kusatsu Onsen as one of Japan's top 3, the historic Tomioka Silk Mill, and Ikaho Onsen with its really distinctive stone staircase.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting. Based on all these details from your sources, the ruggedness, history, resilience, spirituality, the food, the proposed song concept for Gunma is described as Japanese dark folk metal with orchestral elements. It mentions themes like mountainous, volcanic, hot springs, ancient myths, deep roots, hidden power. How does the source material map onto that specific creative vision?
It maps incredibly directly. Look at the proposed instrumentation. Shamisen with distortion, low strings, taiko drums, layered vocals, folk chant, epic choruses. That blend immediately evokes the traditional shamisen, folk chant, taiko, combined with the rugged, powerful, ancient feel, dark folk metal, low strings, epic choruses, distortion.
Oh,
And then look at the proposed lyrics, which you included. They reference Akagi's depth, dreamless ages, flame, mountain speaking, old swords, there's the samurai, silk sericulture, stone stairs, that's ikaho, Yumomi songs, kusatsu, Daruma eyes and vows, and explicitly falls 7 times, rise 8. It even mentions the Valley of Loons and calloused hands, hinting at the silk workers, and Okirikomi's theme. It's like a complete musical translation of the source's key points about Gunma's connection to the land, its layered history, its resilient spirit, its traditions, and its unique power hidden beneath that rugged exterior. Wow. That connection is striking. Okay, so from the rugged mountains of Gunma, we shift dramatically. We're heading to the vibrant, bustling heart of Osaka. Your sources label it immediately as Japan's kitchen and the capital of laughter, and that energy just, well, it leaps off the page. Absolutely. The key identity points are pretty much defined by laughter, hustle, and a famous directness. The culture strongly values humor, delicious food, and being what they call real, or, unpretentious. Historically, it was this powerful merchant culture, often seen as a counterpoint to Edo's warrior-dominated society. And it has incredibly rich traditional theater, notably Bunraku puppet theater and kabuki. The spirit is described as outgoing, pragmatic, and really strongly community-driven.
and it's an ancient city, wasn't it? Known as Naniwa back in the 7th century, one of Japan's earliest capitals. Then Toyotomi Hideyoshi built Osaka Castle in the late 1500s, solidifying its importance as a major hub. It really thrived as a trade and finance center during the Edo period, that era of relative peace under the Tokugawa shogunate, especially as a major market for rice.
It did face significant conflict, though, famously the Battle of Osaka in 1614-1615, which cemented Tokugawa control. But the sources show its incredible resilience. It was heavily bombed in WWII, but, rapidly rebuilt itself into the commercial powerhouse you see today.
That energy comes through in the traditions, too. You've got Tenjin Matsuri, one of Japan's 3 greatest festivals, famous for its river parades. The intense Kishiwada Danjiri Festival, where these massive floats are pulled at, like, breakneck speeds.
Crazy stuff.
And, of course, its globally recognized comedy culture, manzai, those stand-up duos, the numerous TV shows, and the National Bunraku Theater preserving that art form.
And the food. Oh, man, the food. It's not just food. It's a way of life there.
Yeah.
Takoyaki, okonomiyaki, kushikatsu, and the absolutely non-negotiable rule, no double dipping.
Gotta remember that.
Definitely. And horamanyaki shows that no waste philosophy tied to its working class roots. The sources highlight the famous motto, "Kuidaro," which means eat until you drop. It just perfectly encapsulates the city's obsession with food.
The language, Osaka-ben, it's a dialect of Kansai-ben, known nationwide for being warm, rhythmic, and inherently funny. Iconic phrases like "nandiyanen," what the heck, used frequently for comedic effect, or "honmani" for really, and "ukini," that old-school way of saying thanks. The pride is loud and clear in slogans like Osaka, the city of eating until you drop, and the capital of laughter.
And the people are often characterized as funny, blunt, but kind, and incredibly entrepreneurial. Figures like comedian Ken Shimura and the comedy duo Downtown are absolute icons. Osaka-ben isn't just language, it's part of the performance and identity, used widely in anime and comedy shows. The clothing style reflects this too bold, expressive, streetwise fashion, especially in areas like Americamora. Mixing patterns, brands, creative accessorizing, often with a sense of humor or swagger.
Right. And even though it's primarily a dense urban environment, your sources mention urban parks like Osaka Castle Park for seasonal beauty and Osaka Bay with its marine life. Key landmarks include the vibrant districts of Namba and Dotonbori, famous for nightlife and food, Umeda for business and shopping, the rebuilt Osaka Castle as a symbol of resilience, the retro Sutenkaku Tower, Universal Studios Japan, the unique Sumiyoshi Taisha Shrine, and the Kaiyuken Aquarium.
Okay, so based on all of that, the energy, the food, the humor, the history, the song concept proposed is Japanese funky jazz rap, ska fusion with visual kei aesthetic. It lists characteristics like flashy, stylish, direct, proudly unpretentious, stand-up comedy, takoyaki culture, street life, working-class heart, loud, humorous, vibrant.
Wow. That description perfectly mirrors the energy and the specific details we just pulled from the sources. It's almost like you can hear it.
It really does. Look at the instrumentation. Brass section evoking the Jessica Fields slap bass, ska guitar, break beats for the rap funk, and storytelling rap verses. And the lyrics are just pure Osaka. The tambori neon, merchant blood, that pragmatic need for wallet protection. Specific foods like takoyaki, referencing Americo More's Nights, the style, the underlying warm hearts, iconic phrases like honma ni and nandeyanen,
Mm-hmm.
celebrating the Kudar night, the ubiquity of sauce and smiles, the rules of Shinsekai Kushikatsu, including no double dipping, referencing mama and papa figures, the local pride in being stubborn as hell and maybe being told you're too loud, the directness of puncha in the heart, the aroma of Horlin smoke, and the identity tied to Kansai Ben. Every single line connects directly back to the specific cultural, culinary, and communicative details in the sources. It creates this musical portrait of Osaka's loud, proud, and humorous spirit.
Amazing. Okay, from the high-energy, food-centric streets of Osaka, we shift gears completely now for Yamagata. Your sources present a region deeply connected to its mountains, its spirituality, and the profound rhythm of the seasons. The slogan, "In Yamagata, you'll find a Japan like nowhere else," really captures its unique, perhaps quieter, identity.
It really highlights that distinctiveness, yeah.
Yeah.
Key identity points are the deep spiritual culture rooted in nature and the mountains, especially as a center for Shugendu that's mountain asceticism focused on the sacred Dewa Sanzan peaks. Craftsmanship is also vital, seen in woodworking and cherry bark art. And the sources stress how the 4 distinct seasons don't just pass through Yamagata. They actively shape its culture, its farming, festivals, aesthetics. It's fundamental.
Historically, it was part of Dewa province. Clans like the Mogami ruled, leaving behind castle towns. But the sources really emphasize Yamadera Rishakuji, founded way back in 860 AD. That temple on the cliff face. It isn't just a landmark, it remains a central spiritual anchor for the region.
Definitely. It was a key pilgrimage site in the Edo period, and remarkably maintained its traditions even through the upheavals of the Meiji Restoration. That sense of continuity is strong.
So what kind of traditions reflect that?
Well, there's the vibrant Hanagasa Matsuri in summer, famous for dancers wearing flower-decorated hats and performing to the Hanagasa Ondo anthem. The rigorous Shugendu rituals and pilgrimages on the Dewa Sanzan continue. Winter brings these beautiful snow lantern festivals, and the Mogami riverboat tours revive Edo period customs, often accompanied by traditional folk songs, linking the river, history, and music together.
And the food, again, tied directly to the land and seasons. Cherries are paramount. Your sources note Yamagata produces over 70% of Japan's total.
Wow, 70%.
Yeah, with the Satonishiki variety being famous. Then there's imoni, that essential fall stew with taro and meat, often enjoyed at outdoor imonikai parties.
Right, those parties sound great.
Yamagata soba, La France pears, wild vegetables. It's food deeply connected to the local harvest cycle.
Makes sense. And the language, Yamagata Ben, is described as rustic, warm, and having a gentle sort of sing-song quality. Oishi for delicious is a classic example. There's a real fondness among locals for their dialect, and slogans like Japan's #1 cherry land show that specific point of pride.
People come across as resilient, warm, and humble, their characters shaped by those long, snowy winters and generations of farming. Yamadera's fame is amplified by Matsuo Basha's famous haiku written there in the 17th century.
Bosh.
Exactly. Even modern anime like Silver Spoon draw inspiration from the rural Tohoku landscape, including areas like Yamagata. They're portrayed as soft-spoken but possessing a quiet strength.
Nature is absolutely defining for Yamagata: rich beech forests, abundant fruit orchards, and those unique ice monsters, the Juhyu of Mount Zao in winter.
Oh yeah, the ice monsters.
Wildlife includes macaques and black bears. Key locations range from Yamagata City itself, host of Hanagasa Matsuri and Nimonikai, to Tsuruoka, recognized by UNESCO for its gastronomy. Sakata with its Edo-era history, Yamadera on its iconic cliff, Mount Zao for winter sports, and the scenic Mogami River.
Okay, so given this picture, the deep spirituality, the connection to seasons and nature, the quiet strength, the haiku influence, the song concept is described as Japanese haiku culture, deep winter festivals, quiet solitude, monasteries, onsen towns, cherry farming, snowy mountains, and this phrase, ambient neoclassical folk, haikuscape, cyclical nature, silence speaking louder than sound, How do the sources create this specific musical world?
It feels like a perfect atmospheric translation. The
Yeah.
instrumentation is key here. Koto traditional, reflective upright piano, suggesting melancholy, spaciousness, soft wind instruments, ambient field recordings like sounds of nature, wind, snow. It's all designed to evoke space and quietude. And the lyrics capture that essence. A whispered intro sets a tone of silence and reflection. It references snow spirits, mountain night, moon's breath, the warmth of Amoni's theme, and a grandma's voice saying Oisha. You hear the Yamadera bells, see the frozen persimmon, recall cherry orchard shadows, and laughter into snow. There's even a spoken Shugendu chant referencing the three sacred peaks, symbolizing that spiritual journey. And it culminates in a final haiku about a snow camellia that said nothing but bloomed. It perfectly captures the theme of quiet strength and beauty found in simplicity and the cyclical nature described in the sources.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, the musical elements and lyrics directly draw from the natural environment, the spiritual practices, the food, the language, and importantly, the artistic influence of Basho.
Okay, our final region in this deep dive is Yamanashi, a place immediately defined by its most prominent feature, Mount Fuji. Your sources firmly tie Yamanashi to that sacred peak, its powerful samurai history, and its identity as the Kingdom of Fruit.
It's definitely an identity centered around Fujisan, Japan's most sacred mountain. The key points are the strong roots in samurai history, particularly associated with Takeda Shingen, folk religion, and agriculture, specifically fruit farming and winemaking. It's a region of deep spiritual reverence, both Buddhist and Shinto, linked intrinsically to nature. The people are characterized as independent, traditional, and living in harmony with the natural world.
Historically, it was Kai Province, famously ruled by the legendary Takeda Shingen back in the Sengoku period, that era of warring states in feudal Japan. His legacy is absolutely central.
Huge figure.
Kofu Castle was built later by the Tokugawa. It was a strategically important region, controlling mountain routes. In the modern era, the focus shifted significantly to viticulture and silk production, and now conservation as well.
And the traditions are steeped in this history and landscape.
Mm.
The Shingen-ko Festival in Kofu sounds incredible. Over 1,000 people participating in samurai armor reenactments.
Yeah.
A huge celebration of that legacy. Mount Fuji climbing season is both a physical challenge and a spiritual pilgrimage. There are Koshu grape harvest festivals and even firewalking rituals at Fuji shrines, linking nature and spirituality directly.
And the food, it's iconic. Hyuchu noodles, those flat wheat noodles in miso soup with pumpkin and vegetables, described as Yamanashi's soul food.
Sounds good.
Koshu grapes are famous, both for eating and for making wine. Yamanashi is Japan's top wine producer, especially known for Koshu White.
Right, the wine country.
Exactly. Peaches, cherries, local venison, yubishi mochi. It really is a kingdom of fruit and hearty mountain cuisine.
The language, Yamanashi-ben, is described as a rural, soft dialect with its own distinct rhythms, often using sentence endings like zu or juran, phrases like shudaneja for that's right, and even a unique local intonation for ikura, meaning how much. The pride is evident in slogans like Yamanashi, Kingdom of Fruit, and Land of Water, Greenery, and Wine.
The people are often seen as quiet, industrious, self-reliant, with a deep respect for their history and the land. Takeda Shingen isn't just a historical figure. He's a cultural icon, appearing in countless films, games, stories.
Absolutely.
Pop culture connections are strong, too. The lakes and mountains were part of the inspiration for the anime film Your Name, and the popular series Yuru Camp Hu, Laid Back Camp, is set there, highlighting its scenic campsites and rural charm.
Nature, of course, is dominated by the majesty of Mount Fuji and the Southern Alps. The Fuji Five Lakes, Kawaguchiko, Yamanaka-ko, Motsusuko, and others are crucial habitats and offer those iconic views of Fuji reflected in the water.
Unforgettable views.
The sources mention grapevines stretching across the landscape, cedar forests, and wildlife like siro and monkeys. Key locations include Kofu, Fuji Kawaguchiko as a resort hub, the clear springs of Oshino-Hakkai Village, Erinji Temple associated with Shingen, and even the Fuji-Q Highland Amusement Park, offering thrills with Fuji as a backdrop. Kind of a juxtaposition there.
Yeah, a bit. So bringing all these elements together, the samurai pride, Mount Fuji, the fruit, the spirituality, the proposed song concept is Japanese orchestral rock, traditional war drums, samurai pride, Fuji mythology, grapes and peaches, ancient shrines, wine production, nature tourism. How does that musical concept weave in the source material?
It aims to create the really powerful soundscape. The instrumentation lists electric cello, taiko ensemble, shakuhachi, a hybrid orchestral rock kit, and storytelling vocals. It's blending traditional Japanese elements with rock energy and orchestral grandeur. And the lyrics directly reference the core identity. The prologue actually quotes Takeda Shingen's famous motto, "Move like the wind, stand firm like the mountain for Rinkazan." It speaks of grapes' tears and ancestors awaken. Verse 1 mentions Takeda pride, Kai blood, the legacy of sword and seed, and standing in Fuji's shadow, turning defeat to dignity. The chorus is a powerful chant invoking water and green, the grape oath, Kofu sky, and the Furinkazan banner. Later verses mention cedar spirits, peach blossoms, forget war, the silence of firewalking, and finding history in wine. The final verse and chorus reaffirm the warrior's heart in the farmer's hand and carrying the Takeda name, embodying the enduring Yamanashi spirit described in the sources. It's this dramatic musical narrative built entirely from the historical, natural, and cultural details you provided.
Wow. Going through the sources for each region like that, back to back, really highlights the incredible diversity packed into just one country. You have the rugged, resilient, deep-rooted mountain dwellers of Gunma, the lively, direct, and fiercely proud merchants of Osaka, the spiritual nature lovers and keepers of tradition in seasonal Yamagata, and the proud descendants of samurai focused on Mount Fuji and their bounty of fruit in Yamanashi. Just completely different flavors.
And seeing how these very specific, detailed cultural points, from the sources from dialect phrases and local foods to historical events, traditions, landmarks, are not just listed, but are directly woven into the concepts and lyrics of the proposed songs, really makes the creative vision feel deeply grounded in the unique identity of each place.
It gives you such a vivid, almost tactile picture, doesn't it? By looking closely at all those individual details you shared. We really did get a shortcut, I think, to understanding what makes each of these places tick and how those deep identities can be expressed creatively. Hopefully, this exploration provided those aha moments for you and left you feeling well informed about these fascinating regions.
It powerfully illustrates how deeply linked the culture, history, geography, cuisine, and even the artistic expression like music are in shaping the distinct character of a place. It's all connected.
Absolutely. So we've journeyed through Gunma, Osaka, Yamagata, and Yamanashi, using your source material as our guide. But what specific detail, what feeling, or what connection stands out most to you from this deep dive? And thinking closer at home now, how might the unique characteristics of your own local area, its history, its environment, its food, its particular quirks, how might those things shape the art, the language, or the traditions found right around you, perhaps in ways you haven't fully considered until now?